call to order.
Gotta look at them all.
We're gonna send for pledge of allegiance, please. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America, and to the republic for which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mayor, would you give us a prayer, please?
Hello, Madam Mayor.
You can let those come somebody.
Heavenly Father, thank you for this afternoon. Lord, thank you for this little small meeting we are having. And Lord, I hope and pray that they make good decisions. And Lord, let us look towards the future. Let them find some good details in what they are doing for our community and help them uplift this community. In Jesus' name I pray.
Amen. Thank you very much, thank you much, all right. I will not make a roll call, but all members are here. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here, and, we have an agenda there, but, oh, I'm sorry.
An agenda? Right there.
Oh, the one right there. Yeah, okay, sorry.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay. I don't know of anything in addition to the agenda, because we're here to get a report from our consultants and ask questions and hope to be ready to put this thing to bed and we're ready to stay for it. So, that's, and Susan from the floor, maybe you got anything, you like to, you make that. Okay.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
And, ma'am,
That's it, was what we were talking.
and there were no minutes, official minutes of it, we're gonna use the recap that, as the minutes for the last meeting, I'm sorry I wasn't here. But tonight we'll take some minutes and,
Of course.
no, you
There's no meeting without prejudice.
Okay, all right, so, here, our consultants are here, Clay Schwager and Adam Hall right there. Okay, they're here from, EDA, CDA to, give us some update on where we stand with our comp plan, and we'll listen to you diligently, and hope you, what I've seen, I'm pleased with what I've seen, and, I hadn't read everything, but, going through comp plan for 40 years, I think you've done a great job in this. Maybe some little snippet somewhere, but, for the most part, I commend you for what you've done.
Thank you.
Okay?
All right.
Yes, sir, the floor is yours.
Yes, well, good evening, everyone. I'm Clay Swager with EDA Consultants. I'm here with Adam Hall, who is my relatively new colleague at EDA. He's a land planner as well, and he has taken over the reins from Lowell, who has gone into retirement, who had started a lot of the work along with myself on the project here in White Springs, and Adam has really done a tremendous job in the last month to try to get everything put together, formatted, arranged, hopefully in a very neat and organized way. And we'll walk through all that, and Adam will walk you through in just a moment sort of some PowerPoint slides, and it's sort of just a way to make sure we present everything in a in a good way, starting with sort of where we have been with this project, where we are now, and a few final steps. We really appreciate this board getting together. I think this is the third meeting. Having your input and feedback is so helpful and important, so when we bring this ultimately to town council, it's in a very good and clean final format. As you all may recall, the state of Florida Commerce, back in 2024 had made some comments that the town comprehensive plan was out of compliance, and it was time to address those issues. And so we've been incrementally going through that process, and we think we have everything in a good position for you to give a final review and comments tonight, and then whatever subsequent steps we need before the April either 6th or April 9th deadline of this year to adopt a comprehensive plan, get the town into full compliance. So thank you for allowing me to make an introduction. Adam will come on up and walk through this presentation, and then we'll answer all your questions, get your feedback, input, and then just whatever steps we need to get things finalized with the town. Thank you.
All right. Good evening. Thank you. Is this working? All right. Adam Hall, EDA Consultants. Thank you for having me. Like Clay said, a lot of this work was started by Lowell Garrett. I know he would have loved to continue it, but yeah, he's retired now. So I inherited this, and so continuing on his good work, it was kind of easy to keep going. You have in front of you a number of documents. The one on top should be a PowerPoint presentation. So we'll start with that, reference to the ones as needed. So just to, as an introduction, the goal is to revise your comprehensive plan to address the Florida Department of Commerce objections, recommendations, and comments letter, and also meet state statute. So it's a relatively narrow mission that we are doing here. It's not a complete rewrite of the full comprehensive plan. This also does not address the land development regulations or zoning map. But when those get updated, which they probably should be, relatively soon, this would be necessary to do first. So this is a good foundation to move into the next stage, which is updating the LDRs and zoning map. And also, everything presented here, this is also the town's document. So if there's something you see, some wording, some language that you want to change a little bit, feel free to stop or point it out, and we can get that put in. The only caveat, of course, is that a lot of this was tailored to meet state statute and the requirements of Florida Commerce. So, any sort of changes, we have to make sure it still met that, but, it's not, set in stone by any means. And I guess one last thing to also keep in mind is that state statute SB 180 requires that we can't do anything that makes the comp plan more restrictive or burdensome, and that's just policies or process. So that is a little bit, of a hand tie, but we need to keep that in mind as we kept that in mind as we went through. So on the next sheet, we start with the history, and Clay went over this a little bit, but the private property rights element was kind of the genesis behind the whole thing, and that was required to be updated. We created that update and sent it to Florida Commerce, and then they came back with additional things that we needed to change. So let's see, that was April 25 when they issued that letter. So we started working on it after that. The committee met a few times. We applied for a technical assistance grant, which I don't believe was received. What's that? Yeah.
We're not awarded the grant.
We're not awarded the grant, okay, yeah. We did receive an extension for that, for the project. The Comprehensive Plan Land Use Committee went over the draft data and map series and provided a lot of good feedback. One of the other documents that you have in here is a list of all the comments on the future land use map. And so what we did is we went through and comment by comment and addressed each one and have our response. Most of them were easy changes that we just incorporated into the map. That's reflected in the new future land use map. There are a couple of ones that we'll get into a little bit later. Yeah, Clay. Over here. There's a couple of other issues that we noted that we want to get more feedback on, make sure that everyone's on the same page. Same page on those items. Okay. So, yeah, we sent those revised maps up in December, met with town staff about capital improvements, and got a lot of good information there that's incorporated into this element. So the first part of the comp plan revision is data analysis. The data analysis is required for the comprehensive plan amendment, and comp plan amendment has to be based on data analysis from reputable sources. So in the data analysis report, I took out some excerpts of things to just go over, things that guided the process and what we were thinking. The first one here is the population projection. So this population projection is based on the growth of the county. So assuming that the town will maintain about 5.2% share of that population. So that's where those numbers come from. The next slide shows a breakdown of the existing land uses. So the top one shows vacant residential, single family residential, manufactured home as making up lion's share. And a lot of this is no surprise to you all, but these are the actual numbers behind it. And then the donut graph below breaks down what that other percentage is as well. The next slide. So these are the proposed future land use categories as amended after the committee made their recommendations. So if there are any more changes to the map, if we change anything, these will change slightly. But yeah, the largest future land use would be the public land use, and then conservation, agriculture are next, as well as low density residential. Moving on, so this next slide, one of the requirements within us in the comp plan is to demonstrate that you have adequate land use to accommodate your growth in the future. So the way in which we did that was we took all the land uses that could support residential uses. We deducted anything in wetland or floodplain, assuming that there wouldn't be development within those areas. And then whatever was vacant and left over, that is in the, not the percent column, but the second from the right column. So starting at the top, that basically tells you that there's 124.98 vacant agricultural acres that are not in wetland or floodplain within City Q. It's on page 9 of the page numbers, maybe not page numbers.
I don't see a page number.
How many developers?
Yes, yeah. So essentially, that acreage is generating some sort of development potential. So we had to make sure that there was enough land use to support the growth of the town. And based on that number, the projected net increase in population over the next 20 years is 44 persons. With an average household size of 2.32 persons per household, you would need 19 new units within the town in the next 20 years. When you look at all the land use categories and what those maximum densities are, you have a development potential of 350 units. So there's more than adequate land use within town to support the needed units. And that was on the next slide. The following slide, this was traffic. So one of the larger things that was recommended in the comp plan was to remove the concurrency requirements for transportation. That said, this data analysis here does show some of the major roadways within the town, what their annual average daily trips are, what the level of service for level service C, maximum service volume is, and then the trips remaining. So essentially whatever the max is minus the existing using the remaining. So looking at this, looks like there's pretty good capacity on all of those roadways currently. Part of the process also is for data analysis of the future land use map series. So I believe previously you all went over a number of those. Some of the ones that we've updated or revised, the future land use map shown on the slide has been revised with the changes from the committee. A couple of ones that we noted that need to be also a part of the required future land use map series. On the next slide is your wellhead protection areas. So those are created by the comp plan policies to protect the area around your two wellheads. So those are mapped here, provided in the comp plan. And then, I guess I did not put it in here, but one of the other ones was historic structures and sites. So print this out here. And that map was based on your previous comprehensive plan, just recreating that with those sites in it. So I wasn't quite sure how those were selected previously, since there appeared to be some other sites that made fit the criteria. But that's where those points came from. It was a previous comp plan. Yes.
We have a historic district that needs to be delineated on the.
Okay, there is a historic
There
district?
is a historic
Okay.
district. I could get that data to you.
Yes, please do, yeah, because that needs to be on that same map.
Yeah, this is a new map from the last time.
Yeah, that came from long ago with state of Florida, I believe, but we do have a historic.
So include the district overlay on this map in your recommendation. Okay. While Adam's taking a note, all of these maps will be included in the data and analysis, which will be, part of the official record. It's an addendum, or actually it's kind of an appendix to the comprehensive plan. So hopefully there'll be a really nice set of base maps for the town for the next decade. The future land use map is adopted officially, but most of those maps are in the data analysis.
What area is it, down along 41, is that where those big houses are, and the lights in front of the houses, is that the main part of the historical district?
Yeah, we had to configure it to have the maximum percentage of historic buildings, so it meanders some,
Sure, right,
but yeah,
the major portion would be.
River Street.
Right.
Yeah, so we'll get that added in, and then what I'm guessing, since there is a historic district, then those were the listed contributing structures
Yeah,
to that district. Okay, so that, I should be able to get that from the Division of Historic Resources.
okay, and Gretchen has an individually placed house on the register, so it should definitely be on there. Thank you.
Yeah, we can look at that. The only thing is if there's a large number of individually listed structures, you might get like a pretty busy map, but
I believe that maybe.
is that the only one?
When you can leave mine off.
Just historic.
Otherwise, yeah.
It is a certificate building, but yes, I think that's the only individual.
Okay.
It is.
Okay. Everybody agree to changes? Okay.
Okay. The next slide shows the adopted future land use map, the current adopted future land use map. And then two of the larger comments, I think, from the committees, from the committee meeting that generated the list of changes. The first one was referencing identifying the wetlands on the future land use map. So the issue with doing that, and we do have a wetlands map, but it's based on the National Wetland Inventory. So these are kind of a higher level, larger scale indication of where wetlands may be. In order to actually determine wetlands on a property, there has to be a delineation completed by a licensed individual to actually stake and survey where the wetland lines are. So you could potentially get into issues where you either add, if you're trying to base it on, conservation lines or other specific areas on larger scale data, that you either go too far and you put a lot of land that isn't actually in wetland or floodplain, anything like that, or you don't do enough, and it does change over time. So that's just one of the caveats. So you do have wetland protections in the code, but those would be determined at the time of development application. So if someone would come in and want to build something, they would need to do a wetland delineation if they're a potential for wetlands on the property.
And we also do have a wetlands map in the map series.
Yes, there is a wetlands map, and it's based on the National Wetland Inventory data. The other issue was the identified here, the old grammar school. So it looked like it was public, but now it's privately owned. And so the issue is, changing that from public to something more appropriate for the area. So we did come up with a recommended solution for that in the map. I believe this is
That's the old one.
this is the old one here. Yes, that is the old one.
Oh, you know what? I think
That's the old new one.
Real old one.
I'm over the
this is the wrong name.
Okay.
new one.
This is the draft that we gave you back in September that we made. That's my fault. Sorry about that.
I thought the new one was a little cleaner than.
That was my mistake.
Yeah. So, the area in English here, down here. So it was recommended to put into a mix of low density residential towards the south, moving into medium density residential on this tier here, and then commercial along the major road there, Spring Street.
This is the new one?
No, this is the new one. This was the original proposed one that the committee made comments on. We took all the comments and incorporated into the. Perfect. Yeah. So the question, I think, is for the committee, do you think that's a reasonable solution? Was there some other vision that you all had in mind for that? That seemed to make the most logical sense based on the existing patterns in that area.
How many parcels is that school property?
Right.
Is it all one parcel?
It's most, I think it's all one parcel, would be.
I think it's 3 or 4 different parcels there. But the one big one is in.
What are you talking about making residential, the back half of the school where the guy's living now?
Yeah, I'm not sure where that building, I think the building is on this first block, correct? Kind of back
Here,
here.
right there, yeah.
Yeah, so that area behind and near the school would be, medium density residential.
And everything in front of that would be commercial.
Yeah, except for this parcel here, which I think is an existing, house right there, existing use.
Well, there's no house. There's a gym there.
Right here in this yellow?
Probably what the gym is, that's, looking at the map, it's hard to say.
Pretty sure the school itself is right down here. I think.
There's no house close to that school, but, other than the bullets, but that's on the west side of it.
Now, the current owner is desirous of some type of,
Pretty sure
commercial
that
type
it's right back in
operations
here
in there.
is where the actual building for the school is. And that's
Along
41.
the highway, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, that makes perfect sense, I just wonder what will that, with that zoning change, could he convert that back building into like apartments or, something along those lines?
As long as it's medium density. I think.
Medium density, and,
Okay.
all right.
It'd be a problem. But it is housing back in that, some of that area back in there.
Behind,
Yeah.
And one of the things too to point out is that this is just a land use at this point, so we have
Right,
to
right,
check what the zoning would be, as well.
But, George, we do have a, application for, this is kind of a spot zoning back there that, we kind of put on hold, waiting for some of this to happen to see what we can do. And, but he has indicated doing some small retail, and I've been talking to him about doing something along that 41, and, we could get that commercial, and so no question, and run with it.
put a car lot there.
We did just have to make some just best judgment calls on the direction we thought we were given, but it's an important area for you all to look at. make
Well,
sure it's-
I mean, according to your statement here on number 39, it looks like there's 4 different parcels
Yeah,
that encompass that school
yeah,
property.
Right.
Right.
I just counted 5 there's 5 parcels in the tax purchase house, but there's several lots.
Yeah, there's several others.
Multiple lots.
Yeah.
There's 5 parcels.
Mhm. I personally think that the recommendation here, I think it's something that we work in that area.
Yeah.
I think based your recommendations here, you probably go with it and make changes as needed. I would,
And, sorry, go ahead.
About being commercial, all the front,
Mhm.
141 will be in determined that behind the school, but that school should be commercial too, the public, because it's never gonna become a school under today's standards and everything else.
Yeah, you have to tear that whole front building down.
And there's some floodplain back there.
Right.
Well, that was the issue when they wanted to do the mobile home park back there, was the flood
Yes.
issue.
So, anybody have any objections to the recommendation they have here?
I think that's a really good
Yeah,
spot.
I
Fixing
think
it.
it's fine.
Okay.
My one question, and I don't know if I wanna open this can of worms, is what about the lot was gonna try to get rezoned? We just put that in
Well,
there.
I've kinda got to put them on hold right now while we research it, and I told him maybe some change in the zoning, something coming up possibly. And he seemed to be okay with it.
Is that the car dealership thing
Yeah,
behind Bullock's
yeah,
house?
yeah,
That's,
yeah.
yeah, that, go down by the wayside.
And also to, not making any final decisions on this tonight, so, something, comes to you and, feel free to email me or bring it up at the next meeting and we can, look at some different options.
Do you, anybody have any other viable options? And then what they recommended here, see that piece of land, I don't know, it could generate some income.
And we think we got all those parcels changed that were, sort of, incorrectly placed in the ESA
Yeah.
land use that really should not have been.
I see.
Okay. Just wanna make sure that you're in agreement on that as well. I think we got them all covered.
We did too.
Okay, wonderful.
Okay. Moving on, the next page in the PowerPoint here, this is where we start the actual changes to the comprehensive plan documents. We talk about data analysis and future land use series maps. So yeah, so this kind of goes through all the major changes. I did not include everything. You know, there were some spacing, you know, commas and straight periods and things like that. None of that was included here. These are all the more specific things. One of the other things that we completed along with this is there was this document. This is page 1 of 37. Looks like a spreadsheet here. So this is all the statutory requirements for comprehensive plan. So we went through each one of these, identified the policies and objectives that met those requirements. We kind of did an iterative process. You go through and you identify, flag things that need to be worked on, and you go through and craft language and try to update those. Yeah, so this kind of helped us, you know, make sure that we were producing a document that would meet state statute. But with that, I'll start going through the changes here. So page 5 and page 6, there was, we added in the commercial uses, the permitted use to allow residential dwelling units above ground for commercial. That's a pretty common use, commonly allowed use. I don't know how much it occurs anymore. It used to be very common. But the statute requires that there has to be guidelines and standards for mixing of uses. So that was one that seemed to be like a pretty good solution there. There is some residential already allowed in commercial, existing residential. So that's why that was added in. On the next page, so if you have a use allowed in, you know, residential, you have to have a density associated with that. So that creates the maximum density there for the residential uses above ground for commercial. Pages 8, 9, and 10. So the statute requires that when you amend your comprehensive plan, that the amendment be evaluated for its impact if it creates sprawl, urban sprawl analysis. So all this included language comes straight from state statute, and this is what these are the standards that they say you need to follow. Different places do it different ways. You can have just a statutory reference to that to kind of get all this wording out. But we felt just having it in here so that it's easy for future staff to say, you know, you're going for a comp plan, well, look at this policy, you have to meet all of these standards here. And we do have language about it's per state statute, you know, it's not something that the town came up with.
What did you do? Something said tic-tac?
Tic-tac.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
sound like said tic-tac. State statute,
State statute, sorry.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, I started going and then I just, I need to take a breath and slow down. But, yeah, state statute. The next major change is on page 11. So with some of these, the comp plan already technically meets the requirements, but in some cases we wanted to essentially bright line that for the state and say, you know, we're already doing this, you know, here it is, but we'll rephrase it in a slightly clearer way to make it clear that we are following it. So this one has to do with compatibility between different land uses. So, you know, the language here is town shall ensure the compatibility of adjacent land uses through the continued application of land development regulations that address building scale, height, density, intensity, setbacks, buffering, and operational characteristics. All that is in your land development code. The next big change is on page 14 of the comp plan. It's a new objective, I.13, and a new policy. So yeah, the state statute requires that you have to address the need for job creation, economic development, and capital investment in your comp plan. So that was some language that we included that we think would meet that. The next change, and if there's any questions or suggestions or anything, feel free to stop me and make a comment on it. The next change is on page 16. So that was the elimination of the transportation concurrency. So some of the, instead of just striking it, statute does say that you have to include language that you're officially rescinding transportation concurrency in there. So that's the language there, town officially rescinds transportation concurrency requirements. Page 22 was just updating some of the language about affordable housing, and just renaming, modernizing some of the language to what the statute refers to it.
Because we were thinking about the new bill, they're trying to make sure you get all permits done and done in a few days after they apply for it.
Oh, yeah, there's always something going to the legislature. That's interesting. So, I believe page 28 is the next major change. And that's in reference to the required water supply plan, which is still in progress. We have most of the information data that we need for that. Didn't have the draft quite ready, so didn't want to send it up with a couple of missing data points. But that is close to being done, and it can be done at the same time as this is being approved as well. I'll trail a little bit behind as well. But yeah, objective 4.6 and 4.6 and policy 4.6.1 are essentially just the statutory requirements for the water supply plan. Page 35 is elimination of the optional recreation concurrency, which I believe again, yes, the statute requires that there be an official rescission language in there, which is present in that objective 6.3. The next one, I did, I would like to hear what you all thought of this objective being redrafted essentially, and what if anyone knows the impetus behind this. It looks like this was for a very specific planning project for the interchange I-75. So the old one was the town of White Springs shall coordinate with Hamilton, Columbia, Swanee counties to re-gentrify and redevelop the intersection of Interstate 75 and State Road 136 to create an attractive, appealing, and inviting gateway to White Springs. And then the policies below have specific dates, year 2012. So yeah, when we read this, it sounded like it was for a very specific project.
So, not the previous mayor, but the mayor before it, right, Helen Miller?
Helen Miller.
Was coordinating a project to bring water from our town and sewer to the interchange of 75 and 136. That project obviously never happened.
Swanee County actually did that.
Yeah, they got a very, very large grant to bring sewer, which they sewer all the way to Welborn now from that, and a water plant out there to supply that intersection.
Okay.
That's what that all is about.
So we had recommended is getting rid of that objective and sub-policies and having a more general statement about, you know, if there is future planning efforts in that area that, you know, the town
Because
would.
that is actually all in Swanee County, it's none of it's in Hamilton or
Yeah,
the town.
I mean, the
Actually,
option would be
it
just.
goes through Columbia County to Swanee County.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
That was kind of pie in the sky.
So why would we even bother if it's out of the county?
Well, it was a state, I was around during that time, it was a state initiative to develop the interchange. And the closest at the time, freshwater, gray water, brown water treatment was here.
Oh, okay.
But Swanee got a large grant to do that, to develop that interchange.
They built that big sewer plant out there, and on the other side on 137 on Welborn, they built that water plant.
Okay. Well, I mean, just a general comment, we do everything we can to utilize it if, you know, the economic benefits or something, you know, seem deemed feasible to the city or town, something like that.
Okay.
I don't think I put a lot of detail on it, just that we're aware of it. And
Yeah, language right now is, you know, shall participate as needed, you know, as deemed by the town. If you need to participate in any sort of planning process, you can. The alternative is to strike it, you know, not replace with any language, but,
I agree.
okay.
Manager, if you're gonna put something in, just put something very generic language in there that, you know, we'll work with others to.
Okay. Okay, the next, big one is page 48, which is the, capital improvement, program. So we worked with, town manager and Mr. Vaughn on getting these together. I think one of the changes that we did make, from what we got was we combined a couple of them into the larger projects because they were in the same year and kind of related. I think the water meter reading devices and water meter software were separate.
It's all right.
Yeah, so we put those together, into one project.
This was one of the specific comments that the state made, that we needed to update the 5-year list of capital improvements, along with the population
So
projections.
we've gone past the 5 years.
Yes. Yes, sir.
So can we go a little further past where we went and talk about the need to get a new sewer plant? Because the contract we have with Nutrien is up in the air by, what is it, 2037, 2038? We might be finding ourselves without a sewer plant, treatment plant. Is that something we can add?
Treatment plant, or is it wastewater, what was it?
Wastewater.
Wastewater, yeah.
Yeah, I believe you can go beyond the 5-year. I can check that, but I think if it's within the 5-year, that's when you have to actually have identified funding sources. But if it's beyond 10 years, or beyond 5 years, I think you can be a little bit more, you know, vague in where that funding is coming from, but, you know, that's, you know.
I don't know if you all do any consulting or talking with the county planning and people and everything, but it came up in a county council, city county commission meeting about the need for, as Robert said, more sewer, and they mentioned something about some restrictions that was on our plant at sometime in the future. I don't know what
Yeah,
I don't know what that's all about.
well, there are restrictions based on the content of what we ship up there. You know what they are, can't go above a certain amount of chemicals. But, it's also just a time thing. They're basically renting us a discharge pool that we're using for our wastewater. I'm not sure of the exact relationship, but it's only until either 2037 or 2038. So there should be at some point in the near future a consideration to look into options, and I feel like it should be on our capital improvement list so that if we wanna really start getting serious about it. You know, we haven't done a comp plan.
Some generic statement out there or something.
Well, I mean, so not knowing the exact engineering,
Well, that's what I'm gonna say, I don't know the, process
Process.
of it, but, if, I don't know who does the, plan, or if they have a consultant at the county or not, but I could just ask the question of you.
it might be
It
good.
did come up with a city, a county commission a couple months ago about 10, 11 years out, something had to be done.
Yeah, I mean, if it's expiring in 10, 11 years, so I mean, if there's some solution, you're gonna have to get planning and engineering for that well in advance of that. So it might be good to include a planning, you know, wastewater treatment option planning item in here. And yeah, those are typically not, you know,
The old Carver School is on this list. Does the town own that, or does the school board own it?
Town.
Town owns
The
it.
town owns it,
It is not in city limits though. But we own it.
but we own the land.
Yeah.
We could also, talk to your, town engineer consultant, you know, about this a little bit, see if we can maybe have something in that 5 to 10 year window.
Do you ever talk to, Kevin,
Yeah.
Ask, he's probably familiar
Yeah,
with. what
he's
we're
dealing
talking
with these issues all the time, so, you know, many communities.
Yeah, I mean, the worst thing we can do is wait until, 2035 and say, okay, 3 years, we got this, and then find out it's a 5-year, 10-year project.
that's not, not a good.
This is a forward planning document, and obviously, utility service is a core function, so absolutely do that.
Oh, it's Mr. Stoddard, you're good. Mayor, do you have a question?
Yeah, you said the town owned the Carver School?
It's owned, but according to the property price and everything, with that agreement that it was supposed to have been, some construction been done within the 10-year period, but it wasn't done, and I don't know the agreement.
Yeah, since it wasn't done the way it's supposed to been with that $650,000 grant, it's supposed to went back to the school board. And plus, it never did convert over into the town because Stacy Tebow had to go back into the deeds to rephrase just one little word so it can convert into the town. But none of that never happened.
Follow from Carver.
That was my understanding of it, was that if no, because originally the plan was to make it kind of a museum on a part of it over there, and if it didn't happen, then after 10 years, it would revert back to the school board.
Yeah, I
But
call it
that's
10-year
a long
period.
time ago, so.
Ms. Tebow had the annexation documents all ready to go to, before the council when she left.
Right.
She was ready to annex.
And then none of it never happened.
When she left, no.
That's the area, like, does Neat live over there? That's the area that wants to be annexed in?
Yes.
Okay. I'll put it on the list.
No, there's an area that wants to be annexed in. It's one way to get our population up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So do we want to add something about John Henry Park, Anita Lot TLC onto this, or is that not big enough of a project?
Oh, the one
The one by Suds, the one on 40.
Right across from.
we had our engineers were here a month ago, everybody looked at it and said, since the wetlands and all that, the best thing to do was keep air, keep the path open.
Really, the walkway.
We're the walkway and it's just a wetlands and we get rid of that tree here in a few days. It's been there for,
The reason that park existed, from what I understand, was when the school was open, it was gonna be like a science laboratory.
Nature study.
Yeah, so they can go across, but the school's there, not there anymore, so
I have never seen anybody in since I mean, and they may go, but I have never.
Except the bug was living there.
Yeah.
I've been in there, but like the boards are all warped.
Yeah.
They're missing.
It needs to be restructured again, it needs to be rebuilt and be in a better
It needs to
shape.
be
They,
repurposed first.
yeah, it failed, they let it go, so, it need to
But
be.
we're getting the tree out.
Rebuild.
What we had discussed was putting up, identifying different plants in there and putting up little signs.
It could be some
A
botanical,
little like
what, garden
education
or
part,
something, you know.
yeah.
Yeah, what do you put a fish in it?
Eaten by
Koi
mosquitoes.
fish in there.
Yeah.
But it, let's see, we read it on here somewhere on the car, I mean, the park, but did we put it in
I didn't see it.
here? Yeah, you got the John Graham Park, isn't that the John Graham Park we're talking
That's
about?
it.
Yes.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Oh, that was John Henry.
Create sustainable pond attraction, yeah, we got.
It's John Henry or John Graham?
John Henry Graham.
Oh, John Henry.
Is it possible to add an item in here for all the broken and missing lamp posts that
Yes.
are running up and down 41? It's kind of like seeing someone smile with a bunch of missing teeth right now in the town.
Yes, something here.
Create a sustainable pond attraction. John Graham Park, that one.
Yeah.
Right there, 2033.
I mean, I guess we could, as a future out there, we, bring out the IRS to the Duke to take a look at all their poles and lights and do a survey of dark spots and all that.
Are you talking about those antique?
Yeah, the antique was wasn't part of the grant,
Yeah,
yeah.
they're.
Well, they're not a maintenance plan, as part of the grant to repair, replace. But I noticed those antique, historical stop sign poles, they get knocked over, they just come and put like a picket, and put like a stop sign on it, why I think.
Well, I mean, again, they did something nobody, sustainability. Those things. So-
Those lamp posts, a lot of those lamp posts were hit by people, and I know there's police reports on some of
I
it.
know, but you have, should, I mean, it's gonna be a matter of years if you don't have any historical poles anymore.
Yeah.
You have to replace them as you go.
You gotta think about sustainability in your grants.
Yeah.
And did I hear right that it's, for one of those, historical lights, all that, it's several $1,000s to replace one of them?
Yeah, they're expensive.
Yeah.
They were expensive when they put them in.
But I don't wanna get into this discussion here, but normally they have, like very lightweight bolts. So when you hit them, the bolts break, the pole fall
Yeah.
over. It's a very simple maintenance issue, just put new bolts and bolt it back up. I don't know if we look at it that way.
There were several of them, laying out there over the fire trucks. Parked out here, that's where they put them.
Yeah, because I was trying to check with former police chief and, the sheriff's department, and there's been no, I can find no accident reports where we filed people's insurance on them, where, and I have a police department for 3 or 4 years, and
Right.
then they went back, what's done then, before then.
They had an FHP, sheriff's office on right around for us.
What is that?
Okay, so it sounds like we need to add a couple more things in for the
And
wastewater treatment.
the
and,
future generic things down there to look at, the ornament, it's called ornamental lighting, is it?
Yeah.
And ornamental street lighting, replacement schedule, or maintenance,
Okay.
maintenance and replacement of ornamental street lighting or something.
But the create sustainable pond attraction for John Henry Green Park, is that?
Yeah, I think that'd be good, we can clean it up and, but, I asked the engineer to give me a plan of how we could do it, and you said, best thing to do is to abandon it and just let it, but botanical garden or something like that would, sounds like something that, would work down there since it's a wetland in it.
I think we got a Lowe's grant to build that walkway. They do have small grants that you can,
You're right, yeah, they got
yeah,
$500,000 grant.
I think that's where
And
we got
the
the money.
pavilion?
Do what?
And a little pavilion?
Yeah.
Okay. So just to make it to mention the ornamental flat replacement and maintenance or whatever, how you want to word it here, that's eye-catching.
Okay. We can add that in. I believe page 65 is last but not least. That's the private property that's on which I initiated all this work. Yeah, this was, looks to be based on a template that the state had provided when they passed the statute. So.
1633177.
So those are the major changes to the comp plan. Like I said, it was narrowly tailored to meet statutory requirements and the requirements of the section recommendations and comment letter from the Board of Government Founders. The next steps, would be, so the data analysis that was provided, it does need to be formally accepted by the town council in some form. Many places do separate motion. If a resolution is so desired, then we could get a draft resolution together for you all to look at a meeting. The water supply plan, though, does need to be approved by ordinance. The schedule here kind of shows what we would take over potential next steps, but in March, have the formal acceptance of the data analysis report, the adoption of the comprehensive plan, and that's the only hearing they do for that, because we've already had the transmittal hearing, so this would be the adoption hearing. And then the first reading of the water supply plan, then we would send the comprehensive plan to the state, and then at the following month's council meeting, have the second and final reading of the water supply plan.
April 30th is due, or, yeah, okay.
April,
14th would be the council meeting, that gives you 2 weeks to get final touches and everything.
Well, that would be just for the water supply plan.
Well, I thought the comp plan, oh, yeah, that's right, we're gonna have to wait for the comments back from the state.
Yeah, and the way the language in the comp plan is, it's so worded that the water supply plan can follow after the comp plan, because the town will update the water supply plan.
April 9th is the deadline to adopt the comprehensive plan.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And it's a little strange because that water supply plan, second reading is after that. But as Adam indicated, that would be acceptable procedurally.
Okay. So, comments from anybody in the committee?
I have way too many comments. I had a quick question too that I just realized for the capital improvements plan, that, all those upgrades that we're doing to the water system that we had talked about at the meeting in October, does that need to be on the capital improvements plan too? Okay,
Grants for well, we got grants, 2023 or something for, we've got 2 grants going, and one grant going already for the, water, improvements, man.
Okay, so if it's in
I don't know
progress,
how-
it doesn't have to be on
How
there?
detailed, I mean, but I think it encompasses the meters and all that stuff that's supposed to be, we're working on.
Is that the water plant?
No, that's not the water plant. They're upgrading the mains and they're replacing old dilapidated.
And
pipe
Kevin,
fittings.
Kevin never do that.
Okay, cut off valves.
Yeah, if it's still going and you're gonna be doing it this fiscal year and we'll be going next fiscal year,
Yeah,
we should probably have it.
You got a 3-year extension on it, so
Okay.
it kind of lay dormant for a while, nothing was done. Well, I say that's the question you asked,
No question.
talk to Kelly. Yes, sir. Oh, okay.
I was looking at the population, assessment, having 44 new people in the next 20 years. And I know we've identified a bunch of empty residential lots, and we're thinking that people will build on those lots. Unfortunately, a lot of those empty lots belong to people adjacent to them. They own the house next to it, and they don't want to get rid of those lots. I know of 5 lots on my street alone that are empty, buildable lots, but those will only be sold with the main structure. Because people want to have space. I wonder, on our future trajectory, we're going right toward dissolution of the town. Because we cannot sustain town with 44 new people in the next 20 years. We can barely sustain it now. We need more revenue. They're talking about cutting property taxes. I don't see how it continues if we only get 44 people. I was
That
thinking-
one of my questions was
I
about
was-
the
I was thinking the agricultural land that they wanted to build on. I wonder if there's some way that we could do residential on it that would smooth their way forward. The problem with the infill lots, a lot of them, you know how many dilapidated, horrible structures there are. How many bad conditions there are. Nobody's gonna wanna build a new house next to that. That would be a clean slate for people to go and find a piece of land and build. And I wondered if there's a way to make some of that residential out there. I mean, there's 67 acres, I believe. It's not all buildable because of the ponds.
You know what, I'm sure.
Well, the other option.
Is that the land that she was looking at?
Yeah, that's really, that's, land.
The other option too is getting code enforcement to, yeah, because you've got abandoned open structures, which,
The problem is you cannot afford to do code enforcement. It costs so much to foreclose on a house or a piece of land that towns can't afford it. We can't afford what we're doing, much less clean up all those.
We have a joint meeting on the 17th with County, Jasper, James, and us to discuss code enforcement, one of the overall items to look at countywide or something. Because none of the cities can, they can.
so it makes sense to do it countywide versus.
And we've got a meeting on the 17th to start that discussion.
Well, the legal process is so onerous
Oh, I know it.
that even towns in Lake City can't get to all of them. They can't afford to do it because the attorneys, some of them are resisting and they drag it out for 20 years. In the meantime, you're not building next to it.
So you're looking at the agricultural
The
land
agricultural land out 41.
and have that rezoned as residential?
Some of it at least.
So, I know that, so Omarosa's background is of course real estate and other things, but I know she's was looking at the map,
Yeah.
trying to see where there were large areas for development, because, I mean, of course, there are tons of developers who want land to develop on.
Yeah.
And so if there is like an area that could be, you know, zoned as such, I mean,
But the
finding
problem
somebody
is-
is pretty easy.
The problem is it's dominoes. Do you have the sewer and water infrastructure
Yeah.
to be able to support, I mean, the Diamond Acres, they were having issues with sewer and water.
Right.
One of the other things I think would be a very good time to do this with the water supply plan, and I've said this to several councils and managers, we need to have a serious availability ordinance in this town. You still got houses in this town that are on wells and on septic tanks. which they have sewer lines in front of them. You know, Lake City, I believe, is $250 a month if you don't connect. Here, I think it's 15. That's an issue. Cause I know there's areas where you have 1 meter running 3 or 4 structures.
Yeah, we're trying to get a handle on that.
I think it would be a good time for the council to address that availability issue. You know, if sewer and water is available, you've got to hook to it.
Usually a developer has to provide,
That's what I was gonna say, that
yeah.
is what
Yeah.
the ordinance needs to put in there, is that the developer.
Impact fee.
And I think,
Yeah.
I
Impact
think
fees
it's
and
that
like
way.
upgrades or something.
I think that's the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
The LDRs have, impact fee, whatever you call them, provisions. So they exist, but certainly in the recent past, we have not been a sophisticated enough town to really appreciate or quantify those in any meaningful way. But I've come to much the same conclusion that Tracy has, that we kind of gotta grow. I've gone through all of our documents, I've gone through our finances, and I've kind of come to the conclusion our two options right now are to be dissolved or to grow the town.
Yeah.
Like 40 people in 20 years is not gonna fix our problems. That's just not the way it is. The number I pegged at was 1,500 people. And when I was doing the math of the analysis for the comp plan, that is building a house on every available lot right now. Would just about get us there. So from just and also you guys are talking about less than 10% growth in 20 years. That won't work. So we do need to be more mindful about growing, and the question is our comp plan mindful of that? Like, how into growth mode does our comp plan have to be versus the actions of the town?
Yeah. Clay, you can answer this, but, you know, this comp plan seemed to be based on, the regional planning council, what their template was, which was, we're gonna meet everything in what was called 9J5, we're just gonna meet all statutory requirements. Some of the comp plans, they have big economic development elements, they have, you know, incentives listed, they do portray and project that they want to grow. More than, you know, the basic comp plan, in this case does. Those are the things moving forward, you can start to, you know, once we get meet the statutory requirements, and I don't think there's enough time to really redo and do basically a cultural shift with your comp plan. I think, you know, once we meet the statutory requirements, then if you want to kind of start again and revamp and add in a lot of that information and kind of transform it into a pro-growth document, I mean, that's definitely something the town should
Hell,
consider
put
doing.
that in there, because I agree with Robert, the town is just not gonna be sustainable. I mean, with
It's
the tax
not.
revenue,
We're
it's just not gonna happen.
operating at a loss and we're on a clock.
Yeah.
And we don't even know how long that clock is because of this appropriation sitting out there. And if that gets axed, then that clock is much shorter, and if they axe ad valorem taxes, then that, we might as well be talking about dissolving the town
But
at that
you
point.
pretty much guarantee if that gets on the ballot, that is gonna pass in Florida.
The legislature even, somebody in the legislature, when we were talking about dissolving, said that to begin a town, you have to have 1,500 people. And I think that would probably be minimum sustainability.
Well, with what they're doing with property taxes, that number is gonna go up to way more than
Yeah, it's gonna go up.
You're gonna need 5,000 people to start a town.
Even if they only eliminate, homestead properties and people over 65, it's still gonna go way up.
I think what,
But I think we're in a case where we've got to comply by certain dates or something.
I agree.
Yeah, oh, well,
And but I think we can always do an EAR or something, once we get this, and I'm on board. Let's step up to it. What will happen to sustainability?
I just think we have to be mindful of that, you know?
Mhm.
I think probably the best course of action, since we kind of don't really know what this would look like. I think, of course, we move forward with this,
Yeah.
but I also think we look at, if we were to look at annexing some land in, how much land is there around us that would maybe want to be annexed in? That would be one, because, then we increase our footprint.
Yeah, but then the utilities and all that,
You
you
gotta
got that,
supply the-
we got, I mean, that may be the decimate, which not keep.
Right. And so, and then because I already have, Omarosa coming up with a list of redevelopment ideas, different ideas. I'm kind of, just go with it, get all the information. She's pulling research. And we could do another comp plan meeting where she can come in and kind of talk about these different ideas. And then we can look at the map and see how, we wouldn't be making ultimate decisions, but it would give us some ideas at least of the options or possibilities that are out there.
Who is that?
By Locklear, who is also a real estate expert.
Lockhart?
And so she's, and it's, I always have to say, the Omarosa,
Yeah, well,
from
remember from the
Apprentice,
apprentice and all
Trump
that?
administration,
I mean,
Clinton
well
administration, all that. So she knows tons of developers all over the world, and, she's seen different projects, and all of them are gonna have pluses and minuses, but to kind of give us ideas of what we can do. And we did just establish the Community Redevelopment Committee to work on development ideas. And so part of that could be looking at some of those ideas, looking at some of the land available and making some decisions there about how you want to update the comprehensive plan at some point. I think if we're just shooting in the dark, we might not quite know what we're looking at.
Yeah, we need it.
But we're on a timeline with this.
Yeah, we gotta do this, yeah.
And look at that.
Yeah. But then if we get ideas,
We're gonna have to make changes incrementally anyway, because if we
Yeah.
just sit here and,
Financially, we came forward with.
yeah, we just sit here and daydream 30,000 changes. None of them are gonna get
Yeah.
implemented, so. it won't
but
matter.
I really think any development is gonna have to come with the impact fees
Right.
or agreements to, upgrade, something. It's not gonna be just sustainable for us to work with the system we have. And even the Diamond Plat people, and we need to follow up on this, said that they knew how to get grants
They do.
to upgrade. So we need to follow through with that because,
We talked to Mr. Davis every county commission meeting, and he's kind of backed off of.
well, he's not the only one in town that probably.
Oh,
only- Yeah, but with our system, it's gotta be upgraded.
And another, thing is following up on this 10-year deal with sewer road availability, with the county and all that. I know that's a question mark that I've got now that, I'm glad we mentioned it tonight, so I can follow up on that agreement, see what's really involved in it.
Well, I know there was discussions, previous council about purchasing the land from Nutrien where the retention pond is. And that somehow fell through. I don't know exactly what happened. Raybon's all up on it.
Yeah.
Raybon knows all about it.
Well, the great thing about this is if we get the plan into compliance, you have the time to come up with these strategies. The
Right.
data and analysis that will need to be done to show that maybe 100 or 200 acres being put into residential and just show the economic story behind it. And we did not get the technical assistance grant awarded. Unfortunately, there's a lot of communities and only so much money. Probably only 10% of the people who applied were awarded any funding, but economic development initiatives, rural development initiatives, have a higher level of success. And so, writing a grant next year to try to look at some of those issues may be more successful than last year when we just were really looking for some help to support us getting our comp plan. So, and then that'll go along with, the land development code we've talked about. It needs some revamping.
It needs a little bit of immediate triage work, but then also it can
Yeah.
go along with your other economic initiatives and the zoning map. And those things can start to happen very quickly once we get through this first step.
The zoning atlas needs to be redone.
Yes, sir.
It is woefully inaccurate.
That should be done as soon as possible.
Yeah.
After this.
So I have actually a lot of questions. I didn't ask any of them yet.
Okay.
So there's a lot of talk about urban sprawl. Is a town as small as White Springs really going to be held to, like, you can't put a house how far away from the water? Like, how do we enforce this when we're less than 2 square miles of property?
Yeah, so a lot of that language is required by statute to do the urban sprawl analysis, that example. And then we had to actually add in a few, to prevent urban sprawl, limiting water, wastewater to central areas, that sort of thing. It is judgment calls, but yeah, and there are in state statute standards that, if you meet these standards, it's presumed not to be urban sprawl. So that would be on page
8 and 9.
8 and 9. Yeah.
Every time, anytime anyone proposes a map amendment, the applicant is supposed to go through all those criteria. And usually when there's utilities available, paved roads, you're near some existing development, and that you're not considered urban sprawl at that point. But if you're leapfrogging way out in the countryside with, higher density development, you may run into some issues meeting those statutory requirements to prevent urban sprawl.
Looks like our roads have a whole lot of people, a lot of change based on what we see here, but,
Yeah.
I think my biggest concern is if we think about going out is, and I know impact fees and all that, but, it costs you $1 million to pave a road out, a mile, and it just, it's amazing, the expenses of utilities, getting them in the ground and all that, so, we're strapped like we are, it's a good thing, but I think with, you're looking at this, committee we just did, and look at sustainability, that, like back in Rotary and all these over worldwide clubs, went overseas and built, dug wells and all that stuff, and then put the plans to replace the road or, run the equipment and all that stuff, and millions and millions of dollars sitting there. That was a good project, and it worked for 30 days, but after that,
Yeah, so some of the language includes,
Fix some of that.
for the sprawl indicators, the evaluation of the presence of these indicators shall consist of analysis of the plan or plan amendment within the context of features and characteristics unique to each locality in order to determine whether the plan or plan amendment meets the standard for sprawl. So, essentially sprawl is different for every community. But if you're going, a mile out, that may not be sprawl. If you're going, 5 or 6 miles, that might be, sprawl. So it's kind of one of those things that whenever the amendment is being made for land use, that you could, evaluate, the applicant would provide an analysis of these standards, and the council would make the judgment call whether it constitutes sprawl or not.
Yeah, as gloomy as all of this sounds, it's not as gloomy, I think, as it may appear. Just my personal experience with people, we have a family, 3, 4 kids, they grow up, they become adults, they get a job, they get an education, and then they want a place to live. And for some reason, they think double wide mobile home, have a lot of restrictions, so they just move a mile outside of city limits, and they consider themselves White Springs residents. And the town does not get the benefit of that. So you have to capture some of that bleeding and figure out very strategic ways to capture that person and capture that household and put it inside the city limits.
Because that it's another $20,000 home, it's $150,000-$200,000 home,
And I'm not advocating
Well, I know
for the
that.
town with mobile homes, I'm just saying, there's some alternatives, there's some things we can do. And I know a lot of people, I'm from here, of course, but I know a lot of people that,
Make it affordable.
A lot of ideas and everything, but,
No,
Rob, you want to ask more questions?
Yeah, I have a lot more questions.
all
So
right.
we've got page 11, policy 151. The town shall adopt as part of its utility policies and programs provisions whereby any extension of public facility, et cetera. So we have a ordinance already on the books. I don't remember if 1701 or 1501. But it relates to when and how people need to hook into
Yeah.
our utilities when they build. So do we need to adopt another policy?
You said the policy was in your land development regulations?
No, it's an ordinance.
Ordinance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Policy was that, I'm sorry?
It's either 1501 or
No,
1701.
no, in here. In here.
Oh, I'm on page 11, 1.5.1.
Okay, sorry.
Every time we got a water expansion grant or a sewer extension grant, we updated the ordinance to say, now you gotta hook in.
It says now you gotta hook in, but there's no teeth to the penalty
No
if you
teeth
don't.
to that, exactly. $50
Where,
a month.
like I said, Lake City, I think it's $250 a month if you don't hook into it, if it's available.
You need
Where,
to
where here it's
incentivize.
15.
So should we adopt a new policy, I guess is the question.
I think we do need to
Because I
look at
think
the
the old
policy.
ones,
Can you look what we've got and
Right.
see what we're in with, whatever?
And one of the things that we ran into is, if, let's say on Diamond, if they had hooked in, Ray mentioned that the pressure would drop for the people past it, so it was gonna be a problem with the, according to Ray, because it was gonna drop for the people,
Right.
the pressure, water pressure was gonna drop.
We don't have that big of.
I just want to
We're
know
getting
who
other
decided
gallons.
like 20 years ago they're gonna put in 4-inch mains to save $10. Like,
It's just like, if we can get this 100,000 gallon tank up here, back in service,
Yeah.
it will help a lot, you know, just to having that much additional pressure, but we're working on it. Trying to get it back.
It's a historic thing, if that helps.
Mm-hmm.
What, you talking about the water tower?
The water tank is
The
up
water
there.
tower.
So on page 12, objective 1.7, the town shall continue to identify and designate blighted areas that are feasible for redevelopment or renewal. Are we doing that now? It says we will continue to do that.
I don't know, I don't know if any program we're doing, I mean, it's just, it was in here, it was requirement for like, when this thing was made, blight was a big buzzword with DCA back years ago. It was blight.
We addressed that with our CDBG grant, so.
one of the requirements of state
And we
statute
got
is
40
that language.
We got 40 houses out of it.
Yeah.
And I don't know what we'll get in next year now, but we'll apply for it. I mean, we did 4 years, you know, it adds.
It keeps going.
Well, this is the sort of thing, Tom, you said you have a spreadsheet of properties, right, or list them or something? The blighted properties,
I started one, I haven't got, it's not complete yet, but I've just been riding around taking pictures and pulling up the, property appraisers and who owns it.
or should we institutionalize this? Should we have something in White Springs where, we, in your office, you just have a listing of properties or whatever?
I thought that was the property available, but I don't know.
But I was looking at it, again, it's strictly abandoned open structure.
Right, yeah.
Scott Gates took care of one of them.
Mhm.
Over there staring it down, so.
Push it over.
But there's a lot of them that are,
Yeah.
you know,
And right now, with our code enforcement like it is, you know, that's one of the things that,
and somebody pulled, there were 3 trailers over on Sunrise, somebody pulled out 2 of them now. They had for sale signs, but the trailers are gone now, there's one left. They're,
There's a lot of work that needs to be done on Sunrise.
but I mean, it's, you know,
That's just something for us to think about that we should
We
be.
got a lot. Got a lot.
Page 13, the town shall maintain a listing of all known prehistoric and historic sites within the town. Do we have a list that we keep for this? I guess we have the map now. But,
I'm not aware of anything that's been kept up, there may be one of these drawers in here, but not something that's been kept up here.
yeah, it's-
We do have a list of the historic sites.
That's
Yeah,
pretty
you
much
maintain
spring.
it.
well, we should,
I've got
I
a
guess-
copy.
Should I send it to the town? You've got copies of it somewhere, if they didn't throw them away.
Historic,
The prehistoric
The
sites.
National Historic Register.
Historic and,
There weren't any
Prehistoric
prehistoric sites identified during that time, so.
We should have found through the spring house over that area.
so there's also a, it's mentioned in a few places, but on policy 111.1, there's a reference to coordinating with county and regional resource planning. Did we do this? Like, has this been done?
we do it through our LMS strategy committee, local litigation strategy committee, and, using the comp plan and zoning.
Why did we remove the setback language on page 19 for policy 11.4.1? Looks like there was a bunch of information here about setbacks that just got pulled.
Check the 11.4.
Well, that's, you talking about 150 feet then?
Yeah.
That's talking about building those streets and all that, do it next to it.
Was that just like old
Ready for
language is
some
not
line
needed anymore?
Cause you will realign arterial roads, you don't have one road on top of another road.
We don't have a lot of arterial roads.
No, we don't.
Oh, really? So for 22, I think I actually referenced this. On page 22, the policy 333, the town shall encourage new residential construction, including affordable housing on vacant lots through streamlined permitting. What does that mean?
So, yeah, that was a requirement, from state statute, this is pretty,
And the way that it just changes permitted and so forth, that they make you do it.
essentially, there has to be some sort of policy that discusses how you are encouraging, affordable housing. So some places, have incentives, financial incentives for utility hookups, waiving of impact fees, that sort of thing. And we did have some more, more aggressive type policy examples listed. But I think, given the, revenue sources and need to pay for the utility infrastructure, the streamlined permitting was what we come up with, as being something that's,
So is this something we need to document a policy for? Do we need this in writing?
yeah, I can pull
We have
the
language.
statute here.
We have language in the LDRs for that.
Yeah, but
Streamlined.
I think new legislative act, it's gonna come out, you have to apply for a permit today to, and.
Oh, yeah, the Starter Home Act, yeah, that's not happening, I hope.
But, you
Yeah.
gonna have a certain amount of days, if you don't do this, automatically.
7 days, I read that.
Yeah, so
That's crazy.
The housing element says here, the housing element must express principles, guidelines, standards, and strategies that reflect as needed the creation and preservation of affordable housing for all current and anticipated future residents of the jurisdiction, elimination of substandard housing conditions, adequate sites, and distribution of housing for a range of incomes and types, including mobile manufactured homes. The element must provide for specific programs and actions to partner with private and nonprofit sectors to address housing needs in the jurisdiction, streamline the permitting process, and minimize costs and delays for affordable housing, establish standards to address quality of housing stabilization in neighborhoods, and identification of improvement of historically significant housing. So that was that policy trying to meet that statutory requirement. If there was something more wide-ranging, we could,
Everything's on that line.
yeah. If there's something more wide-ranging, we could expand on that. You know, obtaining, fee simple vacant lots, or, and partnering with like a community action trust or something like that. I mean, you can,
I mean, it's only one thing, but it's still something we have to do then if it's in there, right?
I think we limit it to streamline permitting as far as what we put here. And you're asking if we need to change or,
If we need to actually adopt a policy to have streamlined permitting instead of just putting it in a comp plan to satisfy a requirement and then not doing anything about it.
well, I think we can figure that out and have it done before we get any.
Was it the last time you said somebody built a house here, 2014 or something?
14, I think was the patent last time.
Yeah, we got a while then.
Yeah.
When's the last time somebody brought a trailer in? Last week.
So then, I guess this is just more of a note than a question. Objective 3.5 on page 23. The town shall establish programs for the demolition of substandard housing through the inclusion of hazardous building regulations. So that is just, that's what we're trying to do now with the county for code enforcement. Yep, there. Yeah, for some reason I decided to just write notes instead of actually putting it together. So I apologize for actually putting this. So do we actually coordinate our 5-year facility work program with the school board annually? This is page 37, policy 715.
There's only 44 new people coming. So we need to get coordinated.
I would say, so, because the planning and zoning board, right? If we are doing anything that is going to grow the population, we have to have a school board member,
Right.
in on that vote, if it's going to grow the population where it affects schools.
40 people in 10 years is not gonna trigger that.
Yeah. That's sort of, and that's by
Right.
statute,
Right.
that we have to have a
Right.
school board member in on those decisions.
I don't think I have too much more. I did notice, I guess, in the appendix, the, so I mark it here, you keep mentioning broadband accessibility, and improving broadband accessibility. So on the FCC's, website, they generate a map of broadband availability. Every resident in town except one has broadband access.
Okay. What, do you have a page number in the? Page 29, I guess, that's.
I know I flagged it, now that I find it. So like on 23 of 65, infrastructure investment, improve water, sewer, and broadband access to support high-value housing.
I guess you read the last 20 years of the.
And 29 of 65, focus area, broadband and digital infrastructure. One of the areas I think we should really be focusing is trying to get remote workers and people, who just tired of all the bulk crap everywhere else and want to go move into the middle of the woods. And one of the things they need is access to broadband, and I have better broadband here than I had in New Jersey, living right outside of New York City.
Makes it better.
I still have better broadband in White Springs than I do at the house in Neptune Beach.
Yeah, so I feel like that's a big selling point that I don't like having it in here saying, oh, move here, you guys won't have any access to the internet. Or that people, read these when they buy homes.
Windstream just upgraded like a couple of years ago. They laid all new fiber optic cables and made it better.
Yeah, I know, I had 3 internet providers
Yeah.
before they brought,
Yeah, and now Verizon, you can do Verizon through your phone too. It's like you can have Verizon internet in here. That's been opened up like the last year.
AT&T lays fiber straight at 41 too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank heavens for the infrastructure
There's
bill.
more.
There's a lot more available than like 5 years ago.
so that's my last axe to grind, I guess.
Okay.
We'll take a look at that and update.
Sure, you got any, start hooker up there, you got any?
Windstream is the main one, Kinetic Windstream.
Yes,
They
okay.
laid it 2 years ago.
I'm good.
It was an
Okay.
upgrade from the fiber optic cable.
Okay.
I'm excited.
Rachel, you got any comment, did the mayor leave?
Mayor left.
Okay. Have you got, do your audit, any chance to speak?
No.
I've got, Nutrien has a PDF online I found it through the Hamilton County Industrial Development website or something. It's like a 34-page PDF saying, we've got all this land for development. And it has lots of mentions of how, you can get water from White Springs, you can get yeah, well, and can that be completely ignored? I mean, it's sort of like, what happens if somebody actually believes this thing?
I would hope they would do due diligence and realize they're 10 miles from our border and you can't provide them with water.
And congratulations to the individual who wanted to do the development north of town for the assisted living community. Found that they could not get sewer and water, and that killed that. It's not there, it's just not there.
And that's the biggest detriment to economic development nationwide, is you have you advertise 1,000 acres of land, but how you gonna get there, how the water gonna get there, until you've got it, as I say, shovel ready. Be sure there's no dead endings on it, and there's no other bugs out there, and critters, and environmental, until you got it all done, they'll pass you by. And we ain't got enough money to do all that stuff like that, I mean, I mean, just for tonight, I've heard $100 million at least, talked about tonight, of things we could spend right here to get a lot of what we're talking about done. But where's that $100 million? I guess Clay would take out your pay?
I got about 100. About 100 million now.
Another billion, we have 100 million.
Based on what you think we, need to have another meeting before the adoption and have Amarosa come out and maybe talk to us, or is that something she can do without them being here, or, but I know y'all come
I
down.
think, if they could come if they want to, but I think it would be more of a talk with, the town folks about possibilities and thoughts. Are you referring to the mega site, this industrial mega site thing?
Probably.
What, 1,000 acres?
Yeah, I mean, I think
It's the phosphate mine.
well, it's the old phosphate, yeah, it is.
It's all reclaimed phosphate land.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's very.
Pretty pictures,
It is,
and
it's very
it's
powerful.
impressive as to what it calls for.
Nice marketing.
Nice marketing, nice marketing.
Our next comp plan meeting will be on the 3rd, it's scheduled for the 3rd of March.
This committee.
Yeah, this will be okay. To-
That's gonna take
to
time
re-
right now.
maybe shoot for,
Let me see.
maybe third, I give for 3 weeks, 4 weeks,
March third.
6 o'clock.
Not 6:30.
What we might wanna do, so we have the, redevelopment committee meeting on, is it the 23rd? Maybe combine the groups since it would be a similar conversation.
Yeah, are y'all available to come?
Wasn't that like the?
I think that's our standing, yeah, I think it's, we're gonna do the
The
fourth
fourth
Monday
Monday,
of each month.
the 23rd, that might make
Of this month?
sense to have
Yeah.
both groups.
Both group together?
Yeah,
And now
yeah.
we're,
Yeah.
at least you'll have a little time to, at least know where land is, probably.
But no, we don't do it as a formal thing, I mean, I certainly attend.
Should be
Six.
to 6.
6 P.M. on the 23rd? Okay. Kind of joint?
And that was the time, was it 6 or 6?
I think
6?
my phone died, so I've got it in my phone.
I already have it
Nick will
marked
know
as
if
busy.
it's 6 or 6:30.
I already have it marked as busy, but I probably marked it busy for the
Meeting.
meeting.
Right,
On
because you were in.
Probably last night you marked in it.
Yeah.
Haven't
February
ever.
23rd,
Yes.
So,
6
yeah.
PM.
I'll be in the Telford meeting that day.
All right, here's, yes, sir.
So I guess my question for the committee is, I think we have a good handle on the things that we need to do, these final updates and revisions. We gave you a sort of a suggested schedule to land the plane. Do you need us or would like us to come back to that next meeting to show you the revisions, or are
I
you?
don't think so.
Just send it to us.
Yeah, it feels like, this could have been an email.
With all your questions?
She always looks best.
I'm fine with meeting, why
Madam.
not? You wanna come up?
Well, it would be more efficient probably to just send you all an email with specific list of the things we updated, so you can just go right to them.
That makes
and
sense.
tick the box.
Yeah, and unless something needs to be changed, it's not worth the drive out here.
No.
And-
I just wanna make sure that y'all are very comfortable with what we have. And so the schedule is moving along pretty quickly. You know, we were suggesting that the town council meeting on, which I believe the regular scheduled meeting is March 10th.
March 10th, yeah,
We would present all of this information in its final form.
right.
That'd be-
That would get it to us and that would give us a chance to make any and give you a chance to make any
Yes, sir.
tweaks that you have to do, because you still have a few days after the 10th to get
Yes, sir. Yeah.
scrivener's errors, as they call it.
Yeah, we've got almost a month after that, I mean, the absolute deadline, so if there are
Right.
final changes need to be made, we can certainly do that after that meeting.
Okay, now,
Great.
the water plan, is that something y'all are doing, is that, okay?
We've got that draft
We got-
water supply plan about 90% done, we just,
Okay.
we weren't quite ready to bring it
Oh,
to this tonight.
okay. When we get ready, if you could, choose your copy so we at least,
I think we may have a question or two for you and Ray.
Okay.
To
hopefully he'll be back tomorrow, even safe.
We'll send that.
Okay. We stand adjourned, if nothing else for the, go ahead.